So I was working with Elton Brand at the time, and he said, "Hey, B, trust me, bring him on a two-way." My reputation is that, like, if I call somebody, I'm like, "Hey, take a look at a kid," they'll look. But that gut instinct about like what you see here and then what you see there, two-way spots. But yeah, I did the first negotiation.
Welcome to the NBA 2K G League show. I'm your host, Varun Chari, and welcome to the show. So, we got episode 4 of the summer series. Yes, I do know it's not summer, it's fall, but it doesn't matter because we got BJ Bass coming on today. BJ, he's an NBA and a G League agent. He's been in the industry for quite some time. He knows a lot about being an agent, and I'm really excited just dive into his journey, what his process is like working with players, and it's just going to be a great episode. So I just want to also say thank you if you watched the summer series this year. It meant a lot to me for anyone who did watch it. This is going to be our last episode because the G League season is about to start. But again, want to say thank you again to all the guests I had this year and to you all for watching. But let's just get straight into this episode with BJ. Well, welcome back to the NBA 2K G League show. I am here with BJ Bass. BJ, how are you doing today?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for coming on. So BJ, I always like to ask all my guests this. What made you get into basketball?
Wow, long story. I try to keep it short and sweet. How did I get into basketball? I mean, I've always been a crazy basketball guy growing up, and I would say hoops and golf are my two. I mean, I love everything. I watch football, I watch some baseball, but I really hoops and golf were like my two real passions growing up, and I didn't miss anything. And from the Knicks, I mean, you're talking. I just turned 50, so my childhood is mid '80s, late '80s, early '90s Knicks with Ewing and Starks and Mason and Oakley and that whole group and Jordan. And watching the Knicks and Jordan and it was just an incredible time for basketball, and there'll never be another Jordan. It just was such a magical deal to watch that whole thing and watch him compete with the Knicks and the Pistons and the Celts, and watch kind of Bird and Magic exit the stage and watch him come in. So that's where I really started getting into it, and just from there. But how I got into it professionally is a pretty crazy story. So I graduated from University of Wisconsin in '97. And I came back to Roslyn, New York, which is where I grew up, and got married and married my high school sweetheart from Roslyn High School. And so I'm still on the same block that I grew up in. But I was doing something else. I was doing completely. I had started my own business, and then I think in like 2008 around, there was a kid at Roslyn High School named George Beeman, and he was an amazing high school basketball player. It was him and Tobias Harris were like the two guys. Tobias was probably the most, popular guy coming out of Long Island, but George was at Roslyn High School, and he was averaging more than Tobias, but he wasn't getting a Division I scholarship offer. So I kind of got involved. That was how I got into the business. I went and met George, and I watched him play, and I was convinced that he reminded me of Rondo. At the time, I was like, man, this kid looks like Rondo, and I don't understand why. I knew why he wouldn't get a D1 scholarship, because Roslyn is not the most prominent basketball school, but it was really working against him. So long story short, I got involved. I had no financial stake. I just wanted to help a kid from the neighborhood make it, and I had some relationships with some coaches at Hofstra, at St. John's, and I took him all over. And he ended up going to Manhattan. Barry Rorson Slice gave him a scholarship in, I guess it was 2009. And he went to Manhattan. He ended up taking them to the NCAA tournament. He scored 2,000 points there. He's like the second all-time leading scorer. So that was my foray into scouting and understanding that, okay, what I see here might translate, because everybody else was wrong about it. And I'm not big timing or anything. It just, I saw it, I knew it, and then all of a sudden, this kid's an incredible. He won. I think if he didn't win the Haggerty Award, which is the best player in New York City, he was like runner-up each year. I mean, he was one of the best players in New York City in college. Yeah, and people didn't think he could play D1. So anyway, long story short, after I did that for George, some friends of mine from Roslyn, the Rubenstein family, they had just took a stake in Basketball City, which at the time was on the west side of Manhattan, and they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with this place. They just moved over to a brand new spot at South Street Seaport on the east side, and they came to me and they said, "Hey, we heard what you did with George, and would you like to be try and make an agency? And we just have this new place we just bought, and we're not sure what we're doing with it." And I said, I think I could figure out something to do with Basketball City. And that was the genesis of the agency. It was, we started holding, showcases and inviting NBA scouts to come. And the first guy I signed was Vernon Goodridge from LaSalle. And he got a contract with the Warriors like right away. It's funny. Speedy Claxton was the scout. Speedy's the head coach at Hofstra. He played in the NBA. Speedy, and he was the scout that took Vernon to Golden State. So, and that was like our very first NBA showcase that we did. So it happened really fast. And all of a sudden, I went from being just a regular guy in the neighborhood. I was doing my own thing. And now I'm all of a sudden an NBA agent, and I'm helping guys get into the league. And I know your thing is the G League, but we started with the G League right away, man. We were like, Vernon actually went to the G. He signed with the Warriors. We thought he was going to stick. He ended up going to the G to start. But I could see right away that it was an amazing place because we didn't have lottery picks. We just found guys like I found George, and Vernon was a 4 point per game guy at LaSalle, but he was an NBA shot blocker, and I knew it. And so, and that's how I built my thing. And then from there, we just kind of carved a niche of finding guys, developing guys. But really, the G League has been a huge part of that, because if you can't play in the league, but you're good enough, where are you going to go? And so we use that as a platform to prove for these guys that they were good enough, and a bunch of guys made it. And then at the same time, if they didn't make it, they went overseas, but they went at a much higher level, because now they were NBA prospects as opposed to just a guy with 4 points per game. So that's kind of the long story, but that's my basketball story.
I guess I was curious because like when you have been an agent for so long, like you've seen the G League grow so much over the years, and it's like it started with like a small amount of teams, and then there's also like flex assignment where like, teams didn't even have their own affiliate, and now there's two ways. I'm just curious from an agent perspective, like how do you feel like that's been for you, like being an agent over the years with the G League and the growth it's had?
It's been awesome, and we need to make a little more money. Everybody's got to make a little more money while they're in the G League, including agents too, because it's hard. I mean, even on a two-way, like agents are not making that much money, so you have to really believe in the player and the timeline to invest. But yeah, I've seen it. I mean, I remember going to one of my first games was in Springfield. Springfield Armor had the Knicks, Nets, and Sixers. They were all like together as an affiliate up there. And Vernon, I remember, was on Springfield. And like my first game, I went up to the Springfield Coliseum or whatever it is, and Springfield, Mass. And I watched Vernon Goodridge. And I had actually my two first clients were Marvin Phillips from the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, who led the G League in rebounds that year, and Vernon Goodridge, who was on Springfield, who led the G League in blocks. So I had the two guys that could jump ball, and I still have a picture of it because there's nobody there. I was probably the only guy in the stadium, but I was sitting on the floor and I was like, "There's my two guys." Like within 6 months of me being in the business, like my first two main guys were at center court I had to jump ball. So that was really cool.
That's such a really neat story. So that's really cool. Wow. So I'm also curious, like, what is it like being an agent, when you're working with players in the G League? Because, there's a lot of times, they're always trying to get to the NBA, but then there's also like going overseas. And I guess as an agent, like what is that process like? Because you're working with a lot of people from different experience levels who are trying to get back to the NBA or just getting out of college.
It's really hard. I mean, one thing about us in our agency, we shoot guys straight, and sometimes we lose guys. There's a lot of, listen, we're from New York, so we come straight at you, and some guys like what we say, some guys don't, but I'm going to give you the feedback you need, because, to BS these guys, it didn't help anybody. Like, this is what the team is saying. This is the position you're in. And if it's tenuous, maybe you do go overseas. because if you're not a two-way guy right now, if you're not an assignment guy, or you're not a two-way guy, or you're not one of the prominent Exhibit 10 guys that they're cultivating, now you're just a G League contract guy, and you're the eighth, ninth, 10th guy, or you're the local player tryout guy. They can make it. I mean, we have a kid, Terry Roberts, who was the local tryout guy with Long Island, who's amazing, and he actually is signing an E10 with the Nets. I'm watching the Nets right now in China. He's signing with them. They'll probably announce it next week when they get back from China. But so you can make it as a local player, but it's not easy. And we shoot these guys straight that getting into the G, just cracking it, but then staying. Like if you're that ninth or 10th guy and you're not playing in the rotation, and then January comes and all these pros that have been in the NBA already that want to come back and make a run at a 10-day, you're the first guy that's going to go. And they may keep you around as a practice guy or whatever, where you're not getting paid for it, but you're the first guy to go. And it's tough. And, guys, I think part of it is like what makes guys great is part of their ego. And, oh, I'm better than, yeah, but that doesn't matter a lot of times. So we try to tell guys where they stack up and give them the realistic picture of, hey, this is what you need to do to make the team. This is what the team is telling us. But understand that nothing's guaranteed. And so Europe, depending on the situation, it can give you a little more in terms of a guaranteed contract, even though we all know those can be negotiated too. But you can make a lot of money over there if you're a real NBA prospect and you go there and climb the ladder the right way. You can come back. I mean, that's the other thing we tell guys is it's not a fork in the road, because I know a million guys that have gone over, played really well. I mean, I'm watching Royce O'Neal, Royce in China right now. He went to Ludwigsburg in Germany and played great there, and then they brought him back, and the Nets took him, and they signed in Phoenix, and he'll be a 10-year guy now. So the point is, you can go to Europe, you can leverage Europe, and you can come back to the NBA. And sometimes you can even be in a better negotiating position, because let's say you're making whatever you're making in Europe, and you look at a two-way and it's 650 grand this year, whatever it is, and you got to take tax out. So now you're really talking 350, 400. So depending on what you're making in Europe, and I'm talking about the higher level guys, right, that are playing in Italy and Spain and France and those type of things, but they may not want to come for a two-way because it's not enough money. So now you're in a position where you say, okay, I'm good, but if the NBA team wants me, I need a roster spot. So you're actually, and when you're in the G League, maybe you don't have that kind of leverage because they could just call up someone else or whatever the case may be. So, so to answer your question, it's very tough, but there can be a sort of a two-pronged strategy if guys are smart to leverage Europe against the NBA in the same way that you would do the G League.
I think that's such a great point to top up with like guys who go overseas to Europe but can come back. I mean, like Nigel Hayes Davis, I know he had played
Constant.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And even he was part of, I think, the USA the practice team for the Olympics last year. So I think super cool, like kind of, and then yeah, like Dante Exum.
I'm trying to think. Is he on the court right now? He's playing with Phoenix, right?
Might actually, yeah.
Let's see. He was playing the other night. I saw him play against the Lakers. I don't know if he's on the court right now. No, they got somebody else. Oh, there he is. Yeah, there he is. He's playing right now. So, yeah, it just shows you. But, like, listen, I thought Nigel was a pro. I went to Wisconsin. So, the Koenig, Hayes, Kaminsky, Decker team, the winningest team in the NCAA tournament history, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I always thought Hayes was a pro. And, yeah, he's here. And he was in EuroLeague, and he did it there. And then, yeah, if you could do well there, you could play in the NBA.
So I guess I'm wondering, like, what is the day-to-day like as an agent? Is there really also an off-season too, or is it constantly like year-round, I imagine? Yeah.
Listen, I'm just wired. I don't even like going away. I love traveling. I love going to Summer League. I love going to the G League Showcase. There's 3 or 4, Portsmouth, that kind of traveling. I like to go watch basketball. But, I'm not a vacation guy. I got to do it every once in a while. I keep wifey happy, but for me, I would rather sit here and watch games all day. And but it's a grind, man. And if you don't, it's like everybody says this when you're younger. If you love what you do, it's not really work, and I think that's really true. Like, we love what we do. We love helping guys. We love basketball. We love watching the game and, um, helping to advise these guys and hopefully have some impact in their career. So for me, like, I don't need vacation. I'm good. And there's really no off season. I mean, we're always recruiting. Like, we have like 30 clients right now. So the way we work is we're kind of a niche boutique agency in that we have a very small, tight knit group, and we're just hyper focused on those 30 guys, let's say, at any given time. And some of these other bigger agencies just have so many guys, you never know where you fit, right? And that's so we've done really well with a lot of guys that signed with the bigger agencies and realized that they weren't a priority, and then they come back to us. But we've gotten all 30 of our guys done, so they're all now playing. And now it's about watching them and promoting them for next season, right? Because they're constantly growing. And then recruiting new guys, working on marketing stuff. So it never ends.
That does make a lot of sense because I feel like especially when it's like after the NCAA tournament, like there's guys coming in. There's also like exactly everything you talked about with like Portsmouth, the combine. So
NIL too. I mean,
NIL,
it's changed everything because it's like we're trying to figure it out. I mean, it's the business is totally different. Like, all these college kids have agents now already. So, we haven't really touched it officially yet because we're trying to let the dust settle and really see what the business is going to look like. But some of these guys in college are getting huge money.
I was talking with somebody about this, like figuring out also how is that impacting the G League, because we were wondering if like we were going to see more 4-year college players or older players rather than like guys who will be like one and done and just play in the G League. Because if I don't know if they'd make more money in the like and like the NCAA term or and NCAA versus the G League, because G League contract is like lower versus maybe they'll make more in college.
Oh yeah, they got to stay. The only reason if you're a high profile college guy with eligibility, the only reason you would leave now is if you're basically guaranteed like an NBA situation. Because these guys, I'm telling you, I know even like some backup guys that are getting 7-figure money, and I'm like floored. I don't even understand it yet, really. But so why would you leave for a $45,000 G League contract? Like, so.
I was going to also ask you about maybe the collaboration or the partnership aspect when you're working with players. I mean, I know you kind of talked about like how you are very direct, but I was curious, is like there are any other aspects of how you guys like work together? I also know that the company is that you are part of does also like marketing, and I was just curious like if you talk more about like the partnership of like you and the players.
Yeah, I would say, every guy's different. I think a lot of our guys are kind of from all over. I mean, we have some guys from here in the States. We have some guys that grew up overseas. We have a real mix, and I think one of the keys to developing good, because it is a partnership, like you said, but because it's a business, it's a partnership, and both sides have to pull their weight. We have to promote and create opportunities. One thing that I think we do really well is we work the entire league. We don't just some of these bigger agencies, they have 2 or 3 guys in the first round. They have to, I'll put this guy here, put that guy there. They don't want to cannibalize. For us, if we have a kid that we're trying to get drafted, that's it. That's our main focus. And we work all 30 teams, and we work from the GM level, assistant GM, player personnel, coach. I mean, we hit everybody. There's always a G League guy that straddles the NBA and the G League. That's an important guy because everybody's going to play in the G a little bit. So you have to work each organization the right way. And then what we do is we'll give our guys all that information. I show them the screenshots. So they know we're doing the work, and they see where they are and they see the feedback. Hey, I don't think this kid's good enough. Okay, I show it to my guy. Doesn't mean this guy's right. I mean, he could be this guy who said that could be gone in a year because he doesn't know what he's doing. And half the time that's true. But I show my guys so they don't have any question about what the work product is. right? And then they know where they stand and they trust us because there's no guessing. Like, I hear a lot of stories where guys are like, well, what's going on? I don't know. I'm waiting for my agent to call. I haven't spoken to him in 2 weeks. Like, we talk to our guys every day, text with them every day. They know what's going on. We're watching their games. We're constantly dialoguing. And so I think the answer to your question is you develop a relationship that way based on trust and accountability on both sides. Hey, if guys don't play well enough, sometimes that's a tough conversation. And like, you don't even want to say that, but it's obvious. Like, coach, you're not playing well enough. Coach doesn't, you're not efficient enough at this time. You're whatever it is, your shooting numbers aren't there. Your turnovers are not good. And they're not going to put you on a court until you clean that up. And it can be difficult because the player thinks he's good enough and knows he's good enough, but it's not happening. So those are the kind of more delicate conversations, I would say. But if you have a foundation of a good relationship, honest communication, then you can have those tough conversations.
The amount of work, even just hearing like you're talking to everybody, I think that's like that's really interesting because I didn't really realize that with agencies and how important that is. But even to a G League level, like talking to the assistant, like I would have thought more is just the general manager, but like everybody, that's actually really interesting to know.
Think about it. They all go in the back room together and everybody has their guy and they're fighting for their guy and there's a million guys. That's the other thing these players don't think about and they don't want to hear. It's a supply and demand issue. We're looking at a league where they got 550, 600 guys total on the planet Earth that play. 7 billion people and there's 550 guys. So the odds are not good. Okay. So like that's to start with. And so, yeah, you got to work everybody. I hear a lot of players that the agent only works the one team. And it's like, if you're only working one team and you're not creating leverage using the other teams, it's not going to happen because the team that you're on is only going to move when they have to. If you don't bring a competitive offer and they can keep you on a two-way or whatever the case, they're going to let you sit. So yeah, you have to work high and wide. We say you got to go to the president and you got to expand it out.
I guess as I'm kind of wrapping up, but I was just gonna ask, um, the main big events for agents would you say would be like the combine, summer league, and also the G League showcase. I think like for the showcase especially, because that comes in December. Is that kind of more of a bigger time where because there's a lot? I feel like that's also when Exhibit 10s end. So then those are like a possibility of trades happening. So I guess I'm wondering, is that the showcase like a huge point for the G League season for teams and agents?
It is. It's first of all, it's a great event. Most of the NBA people are there. I mean, all the teams are there, but a lot of the GMs come because they're looking to sign guys at that point and they want to get their eyes on them. But it's a lot of international too, and so it gets to like if we have guys that are maybe not going to get called up, but are playing really well in the G League, and it looks like they're going to have to go over. It's a great opportunity for them to showcase too. But that event, I remember when, oh man, I remember like the first G League showcase I went to in Virginia, and it was crazy. I mean, it was first of all there was some OGs like Darvin Ham was there. He was just trying to get in to like the G League as a coach. Cliff Robinson, who's passed away, the former Blazer, great guy, UConn guy, just some NBA OGs that were in the gym, and it was my first experience, and I was like, man, I'm working with these guys now, which was so cool. But the event was like not as well organized. Like the talent level was nowhere near. There was 7 different courts going on at the same time, so it was more of like a less of a showcase and more of like a combine type of setting, right? And it was hard to find guys, but now it's very concentrated. There's 2 main courts. It's set up like G League games, and it's run beautifully. So that's a great spot for us to go and have our guys compete, but also recruit.
Last year they did a fan day, so I got to go in Orlando. It was awesome. I think that was also like Bronny was there, so there's so many people that were there to go see him. I think one really neat thing that I did learn about you was that you were the first agent to negotiate a two-way contract. Can you just talk about like what that was like?
Yeah, we didn't have any clue what it was at the time. I mean, they added this new two-way. I guess it was 2016 or 2017. We did Eric Griffin with the Jazz at the time. You got when we hang up, you go look at Eric Griffin Texas Legends highlights, and man, like he was electric in this league. He had a great summer league with the Jazz. I think it was Mitchell's rookie year. So they wanted to sign him, and all of a sudden we had these two-way spots, and we figured out what it was. But yeah, I did the first negotiation with Bart Taylor, who's GM of the Jazz now, and that was it. Eric Griffin was the first two-way in the NBA.
That's so cool. Yeah, I definitely remember Eric Griffin. That was man, that's a throwback. But yes, yeah, he was awesome to watch back in the day. So
I mean, since then, obviously, we've done a bunch of those, and they're great. Two ways can be great. I just give you real quick. So Norvell had a great situation as a two-way guy because he was crushing it in the G League in Delaware. And when the Sixers called me, it was like, look, there's a plan. Norvell, if he comes in on a two-way, he's going to play in the NBA. Okay, checks the box. I knew as long as he played, we would be good. So I was working with Elton Brand at the time, and he said, "Hey, B, trust me, bring him on a two-way, but he's going to play. And then if he does what we both know he's capable of in January, I'll bump him up." And so, we had that understanding, and that's what happened. And Norvell was great. He ended up getting a multi-year. So that's a good two-way, right? Where you have a pathway and you're going to play in the league. Some two-ways where they just kind of build a fence around a guy and you never play in the NBA and, you're stuck in the G and then you end up getting cut before you even get a chance to play. Now, all of a sudden, that's not the best situation. So I'm not saying you wouldn't take it and roll the dice, but sometimes you're better off on that Exhibit 10 or the G League contract because now anybody can call you up and you have a little more flexibility.
I guess the last question with as being an agent is, do you have any advice for people who want to like get into the field and or anything else you feel that's really important for people to know?
Just do the stuff we just talked about. You got to work hard. You have to go to these events. I mean, that's what I did. I got in the business. I went to every event, but I also hustled all over New York City. I went to Pro City. I went to D&D. I went to all these outdoor court. I was everywhere, man. I was in the Bronx. I was in Harlem. I was in Brooklyn. And I recruited and then people knew about Basketball City and I sort of built a name and everything. But it was from work. I just loved it. I worked. I was out every night. And then I was able to get a couple clients and build it. So it's just doing the work, going to the events where you network. Obviously, you have to develop a network on the team side, not just here, but overseas. And that took time. I mean, it's like you get good players, then the teams want to talk to you. And then, over time then you add the marketing piece, which is really an incredible, like how socials have just taken off with, just unique content and brands and players and how that all, fits together. But that's the stuff you got to do. It's not rocket science. If you love it, if you love hoops and you love helping guys, it should come naturally.
No, that's really great advice. No, for sure. I guess the last thing was just a lightning round question. So I always like to ask these guys for this for fun. So first question: have you ever played NBA 2K? Or if so, or if not, do you have maybe a video game you played before, or like maybe a board game or some type of game that you really enjoy?
Yeah, I'm an NBA Jams guy. I'm a huge NBA Jams guy. I mean, that was listen, I go back to Intellivision, ColecoVision, Atari, okay, stuff you don't even know about, okay. But so 2K, I don't know if I probably played it once or twice. I don't know, but like NBA Jams was our thing at the time, and like you could play with these teams of two guys like Larry Johnson and Morning, and I loved Harvey Grant and Tom Gugliotta, the Wizards team. I mean, it was so each team had their own couple guys, and they changed over time. But like I remember games like that, and like double dribble was another one. But I'm talking like Sega Genesis days. So I'm again late '80s, early '90s. Like that's when that stuff was coming. That's when I was big into that stuff.
Is NBA Jam? I'm just wondering. Is that the? I know there's one where it's like an arcade game. Or
Yes.
that's
But they have a
okay.
video game of it, but it's really the arcade where you play two versus two. And for us, like that was the realest, like that was awesome. And guys would jump over the backboard and you would shoot bombs from half court. And that was really fun. So we were big all NBA jams.
I always like to ask this for fun too. Do you have a favorite movie, whether it's or TV show, whether it's basketball, non-basketball related, that you just really like or that you've seen recently?
Yeah, I'm a big Sopranos guy. Huge Sopranos. That's my thing. If I need to shut the hoops off for like a second, just because it's too much, I just go to usually season two. I just turn it on, let it run through, and like that's to me, that's the best show of all time. I know a lot of people love to watch all this stuff and talk about. That's all the people around me do. They talk about these new shows. Did you see this on Netflix or this? I'm like, no, I just watched The Sopranos. Like that's it. Like that's how good I think that show is. I can watch it over and over and over again, and you pick up new stuff, and just the characters, like all these guys. It's just that. So anyway, that's what I love.
I always love like things like that when you kind of like for me it's Family Guy sometimes, so it's just like something I'm like I need to just watch something for fun and put something on while I'm eating. Yeah,
But the
totally.
truth is, I mean, I watch so much hoops, and then I watch all the golf. Like I don't miss a second of golf ever,
Mm.
whether it's here or the DP. Like if I turn this off right now, I'll watch the Spanish Open this morning. So it's mostly that. But if I do go away, it's Sopranos.
Yeah, I also remember the NBA and I guess they worked together. It was Adam Sandler did that movie Hustle, which I think it kind of
It was good.
reminded me. Yeah, because it reminded me what you're talking about. Like you have this like gut feeling, and like you have to kind of believe in a player. And I think that kind of that what you're talking about remind me of that movie too.
I like that. I only saw that movie once, and I don't really watch a lot of movies, but I felt compelled to check that one. I do like Sandler, and I thought that was really like that was the thing I picked up about that movie, that he did hit that because coming full circle, like that's what this is about. I mean, I wasn't in the business when I saw George, and I was very careful. Listen, I may not know what I'm talking about, but I knew these people at Hofstra. I had good friends that were the coaches at Hofstra, and it's like I'm gonna bring them over there, and let's see, and but that gut instinct about like what you see here and then what you see there and how it comes together, that's what it's all about. And I mean, we've had conviction on guys that never got a shot, and then we'll never know. But we've had other guys that went undrafted that did get a shot, like Norvell, like a couple others, that all of a sudden were doing things in the NBA that like no one ever did before. And these were guys that didn't get drafted. Nobody thought they could play in the league. So it is all about that. It is all about you scout, because we're scouts first, and you got to have conviction on guys and be willing to pound the table. And now, my reputation is that like if I call somebody, I'm like, hey, take a look at a kid, they'll look because that's all we've done.
For sure, man. That's a great way to end it. BJ, thank you so much again. Like I always tell people, it's like the work that people in this industry do, especially for the G League, the NBA, the different fields, like it all makes what I love watching. So I'm really just thankful that you do what you do. So thank you.
Thanks for what you're doing too. Like I love the space, I love doing this stuff, and I also love the angle you take with the 2K piece, because I think it's incredible where that's going. I mean, we're going to get to the point where you won't even tell the difference between like what you're watching and what you're playing. I don't know where we're going, but I see the progression. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I see where we're going anyway.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you so much again.